Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Hello friends, welcome to Fairfield Today. Pleasure to be with you. I'm Paul Jasson, your host. Thank you for joining us, and kind of a beautiful day, at least this morning, as we begin taping here downtown at Fairfield Federal. So thank you for being with us. Again, we are in the lobby of Fairfield Federal downtown. Any of you that watch this show any length of time know that I'm a West Side boy. I grew up on the West Side, Washington Avenue. I'm very partial to the West Side. I've worked with Mike Parp on Miller Pool, kind of keeping that open. Some things that I think were important for West Side people. It's just a little more difficult for the West Side of town than perhaps other sides of town. So anything we can do to promote the West Side, I'm always all for it. So when Becky Tiener called me about this project that she had going on, I said, I'm in on that. So let me introduce the guest today. On my far right, Gary Klum. Gary runs, many of you might know him from Foundation Dinners, and we had his dad on a couple of months ago. But Ed, of course, started the Foundation Dinners, the Foundation Shelter, and now he's kind of turned it over. And we may get to talk about a little bit of that. And 6th Ward Councilman Becky Tiener. Becky, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Gary, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Heck of a project. We're going to talk about some cleanup projects that's going on right now just on the West Side. I think Becky's gotten involved and kind of jump-started that. Really, I guess the genesis kind of came from you and one of your clients. They said, we need some help over here, or at least you saw that.
Yes. I looked through the neighborhood through Garfield Avenue and around, and I saw a lot of trash. And I started picking some of it up down Garfield Avenue, and I came back and I was complaining a little bit to some of the clients. And one of the guys said, well, why don't we start doing that every Monday? So it took off from there.
Be careful what you do. You might. Now, was that from the Foundation Dinners towards 6th Avenue up that way?
Where I noticed the biggest problem was from Garfield Avenue, the opposite direction.
Okay.
Yeah, just the opposite way. It looked really bad down through there, a lot of trash.
The West Side, over the years, like I say, I grew up over there on Washington Avenue, probably 3 or 4 blocks from where the Foundation Dinners are, and just a couple blocks from the shelter. And back in those days, it was a different West Side. You know, my dad owned his house over there. All our neighbors owned their homes over there. But things have changed now on the West Side, right? Again, Becky is the councilwoman for that position, the 6th Ward, and a lot of renters now, and a lot of tenants that don't live, or a lot of owners that don't live around here necessarily.
Right, that's true, but there are some homeowners that do the same thing. I have some people that rent around me and on other streets, and they pick up in that.
Sure.
So it's not all, renters and that. But Gary actually is the one, I didn't kickstart this, I actually followed his lead. So I go around with him on 3 o'clock on Mondays, unless I have a council meeting. And then one nice thing going around with Gary, though, is we will go through alleys and that. But he's also telling me stories about the West Side, about, this happened. And it's very interesting to walk around.
Well.
And then you see things that you wouldn't normally see. Me walking or riding my bike, I see more doing that. But it's interesting with the history on the West Side. I've learned a lot from Gary just going from around the streets.
And you grew up on Jefferson, which is not very far from where you are now when you run the dinners.
Correct. My grandma was on Washington Avenue.
Okay.
So I run around in that neighborhood for when I was a child and teenager.
I remember, it's been a couple years ago now, I had Brad Hutchison on. Of course, Brad's a big benefactor and a big doer here in the city. But I remember one of the things he said is, if you're out walking around and you see something, it doesn't cost you anything to pick it up.
That's right.
You didn't put it there,
right.
But it doesn't cost you anything to pick it up, and that'll avoid something like you folks are doing now. So, Gary, when you go out and you start at 3 o'clock, how long do you spend each day?
Half an hour to 45 minutes usually.
And you go, as Becky said, you go up and down streets,
Yes.
alleys. You have a different section. How far would you say the radius is from, say, Foundation Dinners?
Both ways, maybe 3 blocks in
Okay.
both directions.
Okay, towards 6th and then down toward the railroad
Right.
tracks
Yes.
down there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Having done it each week, though, I noticed yesterday it wasn't as much.
No.
I mean, you doing it weekly, it was not
Yeah.
bad at all, and we were able to get some other areas because it
Yes.
didn't take as long.
You ever run across some of the folks that live there and they say thanks? Do they
Yes.
do they appreciate
Oh,
that?
yeah. They do.
Yeah.
And they smile at us and talk to us a little bit. I get to know the neighbors now. So
Well, yeah, that's it. And you've
awesome.
been there a long time, and again, you and your dad and all that you do right there at Foundation Dinners is good. Now, you have some of the clients that work with you. You have some people who go out more than just you two.
Yes. I try to get some of the homeless guys out and about, and not just homeless guys, but our clients.
Sure.
And they volunteer. May get 1 to 3, maybe 4 at a time that go with us. And they seem to enjoy it.
I was going to say, gives them something, reason
right.
for just pass a little bit of time here, pass an hour or so, and get out there. And
Give a little.
sure.
And sometimes they come back later than we do.
Yep.
We'll come back because we're done, and they're still out doing it. So,
So again, as far as you see on the 6th Ward, now maybe this is something you might, or you have any interest in trying to get it in other areas of the West Side?
I have been. I live over by Glasgow Park, so pick up over in that
Over
area.
by Busby and all
over
that?
on
Yeah.
Brumfield,
Yeah.
that people throw trash down into the
Van Buren
area.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
the
yeah.
one man, Bill Nungesser, he was he'd go around pick up trash, and he passed away in November. So but he was the big guy doing that. And
In
so
your area?
Yes. So we're kind of getting out and doing what he did since he's passed.
And I would think that probably your clients and you and you too, when you go, it kind of gives you a little feeling of satisfaction because, a lot of people just don't really pay that much attention to it. I've always for some reason, I've never been a perfect person, certainly, but I've always been a person. I never littered. I never wanted, I don't know if that's something my parents taught. I don't know why that was, but I never wanted to litter and I never did that. But some people it's not as big a deal. You see it every day when you're out in a car. You see people dumping ashtrays out. That's like, well,
And
it's
there's
okay.
trash cans everywhere. I mean, if you go past a park or if you go to a gas station, throw it in the trash at the gas station, if you have something. But people do that, yes.
Well, like I say, I think it's a good project, and I would bet when you talk to the people that you work with and are involved with, some of them probably get a little bit of satisfaction
Yes.
over there. Yeah.
They feel like they're doing something for their meal and basically
Yeah.
helping the
Yeah.
community. It's cleaner, and I think it's an attitude problem that people just don't have a good attitude towards the environment and towards their neighborhood, and maybe perhaps their life too. So they just pitch it, we're
Sure.
like in a throwaway society.
You see a lot in alleys. Maybe not. I would think there maybe would be as much in alleys because people don't frequent. I would say more on the like Garfield, Harrison, Washington, the streets there. But where do you find that?
You mean down the alleys? Yeah,
Yeah.
we go down some of the alleys.
But I mean, is there a lot in the alleys?
Yes, there has been.
Really?
I had one neighbor ask me about it. He says, I got a lot of trash out back. I said, well, maybe next time we'll go down the alley and get it clean.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
And the dumpster program that we've had here with the dumpsters has helped that in the city with, a lot of stray animals getting into the trash that doesn't pull the trash out also. And all those toters, that was funny, there was one yesterday, they're all numbered.
Yes.
So every toter belongs to a address.
Right.
So if you see a toter someplace, call it in, it might have been taken or something, and they'll get it back to the address.
Right. Yeah. Kind of so they don't get legs and.
They do get legs and go.
and walk off. Yeah. And I would say our old retired friend Bill Burrows was kind of involved
yes.
in getting all that started
He
with
worked
the
on that
sanitation
for 10
department.
years.
Yeah, I know it was a real struggle with him in the city to get that going, but he finally got it done before he left. But I would say that probably has helped a lot because now people aren't just putting out garbage bags or just putting anything out.
And you
there.
don't have to wait like you did before
Yeah.
trash day. You could always just take it out and throw it in the dumpster, shut the lid, and go back in the house. You could do it a week ahead of time after trash day, and it's staying in there. So
Yeah, that is one thing I've noticed, that when I'm driving, no matter what side of town you're on, it's some day that somebody's getting picked up. But you just don't see that loose on the street that you used to see where, like you say, an animal or something would get into the bags and tear it up like that. It's really
Yes.
helped. Probably from a code enforcement or the things you do in the city, they probably
Sure.
appreciated that.
sure,
Yeah,
it does.
keep the west side kind of clean there.
Yeah.
So anything else going on the west side we need to know about?
Well, Sherman now, of course, the junior high is
Yes,
moved.
right.
So the Parks has taken over the field.
Oh, the
and
mowing?
So, well, they're having flag football. They've cleaned all that up. The Parks have, and now it's a usable sports field now.
So it had kind of overgrown a little bit while it just kind of sat there with
so
nobody.
they've mowed. The Parks Department went in, mowed, cleaned it up, and then they've had flag football. They're going to do. I think maybe they're going to do soccer. So there's an extra field. So because you know how Miller floods. So
Well, that's a
it's pretty
floodplain
good.
right there too.
Yes.
I think with Sherman.
Oh,
I think
yes.
that's
That whole
that's an area
area
right there.
is very-
So nothing really going on with Sherman yet that you can talk about.
No,
Yeah.
can't talk about what's going on.
Well, I
The
know there's
building's
been some
still
interest there,
and-
but things have never done that.
Yeah, there's one entity that I hope it comes through because I
Sure.
think they're very good here in the city, and
Be a
I
good
think
partner?
it'll be absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it'll really work out well if we can do that.
My guest is Gary Klum and Becky Tiener, who working on a West Side cleanup project. Becky is the 6th Ward councilman, and Gary heads up the foundation dinners. And how's things going there at foundation dinners? I was trying to think. I don't know how long it's been. I don't know if that's been 20 years, longer.
We were started in 1990,
Wow,
so it's been 31 years.
that's been remarkable.
Forgot
Now
about
that was there before the shelter.
Yes,
Yeah.
about 5 years before the shelter.
Yeah, and for then, his dad ran both of those for a while, but then Gary took over the dinners, and Jerry Waits, as I
Yes.
understand, is now over the
Shelter.
shelter program. So talk about the dinners. I remember when that started out. I remember Ed had to go to restaurants and kind of almost beg for food and get, because it was a learning curve. Everybody wanted to get involved. They wanted, but they didn't know how. So he got it going. But now, it's kind of self-sustaining.
Yes.
People coming in. You have every day filled up. I mean, months ahead. I know churches, for the most part, they're churches that do it, but there's a lot of community involvement here.
Yes, we had a group in every night before this COVID hit.
Yeah,
We had 200 to 300 volunteers coming in a month,
really.
and a lot of the churches, businesses, and families got involved, and they still are. We had to cut it back because of COVID. In fact, we had to cut it off.
I was going to ask you about that. How did that affect you? Before this all started, what were the numbers every night? Was there an average?
We serve 2 meals a day, so it could be anywhere from 20 to 80.
Really?
People a night could be. And we've had it up as high as 105.
That's probably a little too many for your
That
capabilities
was
there.
a little bit hard. We had to feed outside underneath the
Yeah,
awning at that
yeah.
time too. And
So then COVID hits, and how did you handle that? Did you have to limit it?
yes, they told us we could have like 12 people inside the building, put up partitions, and don't let anybody talk, I guess is what I heard.
We didn't know much back then.
Yes.
We've learned a lot more now. I know we do that, but I'm sure it was very stressful at the beginning for
It was.
people trying to get there early enough to be involved, I imagine.
Well, we had to cut the volunteers out, and we had to serve outside for a good while if we were going to do any number of people. And we did it outside underneath the awning. And finally, we got enough money up and got a contractor to come in and close the awning area mostly. It's still got some air that's able to come in there because it's not real well sealed. And we've restricted it at times to only the homeless to eat in there, and a lot of carry out goes out now.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Sure, carry out, huh? Yeah.
That's
So numbers are back to
they're
pre-COVID?
getting back there.
Yeah.
These stimulus checks that people have been getting has cut our numbers down, and the food pantries locally too. We're serving now in Logan, Ohio, a soup kitchen down there at First Church of Christ on East Main Street, and the food pantries down there are cut down to about a third of what they were doing. Is what they
Sure.
told me. So yes, it's had a great effect as far as people getting out and stimulus checks. And people not needing as many meals and food.
Well, I want to thank Gary Klum and Becky Tiener for joining us here. Becky is a councilman on the West Side, 6th Ward, and Gary runs foundation dinners, and they've started a little project where they clean up the West Side. So you might see them out there. Was it Tuesday?
Mondays at 3.
Mondays at 3,
And I
unless
did-
there's a city council.
Well, yes, and then I do. But I forgot to mention about the dog park on the west side too,
Oh, yeah,
right
that-
across
that
from the
is a big
sheriff's
deal.
department.
That's
That
underway
is
now?
so nice. Oh, it's opened and ready to go. We go twice a day usually, so I didn't forget to
Well,
plug that one.
Again, we like to plug things on the West Side.
Oh, yes.
We appreciate, Gary, what you're doing, Becky, what you do for the West Side. We appreciate
you.
it very much. Hard workers here getting a good impact on return bang for their buck here on the west side, taking care of that, cleaning up the west side once a week. We appreciate that very much. Thank you. We'll be back on Fairfield Today.
Fairfield Federal. When it comes to our customers and our community, we go above and beyond to help. Our people make the difference.
We were retiring from Tucson, Arizona, and we made a retirement trip out around Ohio, having decided that's where we wanted to be. And we came across this town called Lancaster, and we fell in love with the downtown area where the fountain is and the memorials and the flags and all the stuff. And we looked around and I said, there's our bank right there.
There's something to be said about a community bank in your hometown.
Right. If you live in the community, you should do business in the community as much as possible. So it makes sense to bank with the community bank where you live.
Fairfield Federal is the bank to be at. If you live in this town, or any town actually, you want to bank at a local home bank. And the employees are happy here, they're conversant, customer service is through the roof. There's nothing more you could ask for.
Personal or business banking, whatever you need, we take it seriously because we know you do. Stop by today at any of our 3 locations and see why the difference is clear. Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan specializes in banking that revolves around you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Dagger Law has been part of the Lancaster community for more than 110 years. This is where we live and work. You'll see us at festivals, sporting events, and all around town. We consider our clients as friends, and we walk alongside you through challenging times. Whether you're a growing business, a changing family, facing litigation, planning your future, or dealing with land issues, we're right here. We are local. We are trusted. We are experienced. Dagger Law.
Fairfield Medical goes the extra mile to give attention to their patients, to their guests, anybody that comes within those doors.
There's no question that the staff there are all personally invested in seeing that I got the best care possible.
The staff was so comforting. I felt like she was in the best hands.
They basically gave me a second chance at life, and I'm going to make the most of it.
Been quite a few years since we've talked to the folks down at Keller Market. Erin Harvey's the general manager down there. Erin, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice walk up here today,
It's
maybe
lovely.
a few blocks, and I mean, it's nice out today.
Yeah.
This is your kind of weather.
Right.
Just from the market, from the market aspect.
Yeah, there's usually a few perfect days and a lot of too hot days and some too cold days at either end.
And the 2 hot ones are still coming because they'll be out there. Keller Market, 5th anniversary. It's hard to believe that how quickly time has passed. 5 years. Do you think you're where you thought you would be in 5 years?
Gosh, I don't know. The idea was really just to get this market house off the ground and provide a retail location, and also there was an idea about a kitchen, and there were a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
So I think
Restaurants and just,
right, yeah, endless ideas.
Yeah, sure, and that's great. That's what you do. Is throw it out there. Now this is what's sticking. What you have so far.
Yeah.
I guess what's most impressive to me when I get down there, and it's a wonderful place. You have just a wonderful hometown feel about it down there. But I'm impressed with all the different local items that you have, certainly more in the summer than you have perhaps other times of the year. But I'm sure your idea is local. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, just everything is local, and we consider that made or grown or produced in the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of unique items because these are little businesses, stuff you're not going to find anywhere else. And I think, the idea of supporting local and your home businesses is really, it's become a lot more important in the last year or so.
And I certainly see the community really supporting what you do down there. You're kind of unique in this area in terms of what you do. Maybe there are more places like you in the county, but in terms of being something here in Lancaster, certainly being downtown where you're located, you've got a little niche here that really nobody else has.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some markets similar to us, more in northern Ohio and West Virginia, probably Columbus, but for Fairfield County, I'd say we're pretty unique.
Yeah. Now, are you guys on both sides of that now, or are you just on one side still? I haven't been down in a while.
Our building, yeah, it's a pretty big building. It's the old Lancaster Hardware building.
That's what I remember it as, like Boy Scout stuff down there, Cub Scout stuff. That was
probably still some in the basement.
Yeah.
It's truly 3 addresses, 3 storefronts, and we occupy 2 of those right now, and we rent a third to a tenant.
So it's your anniversary coming up, big plans, kind of events.
Yeah, we're trying to get creative with what we can do safely to still celebrate.
Yeah, because you still got a lot of this hanging over you.
Yeah.
With the pandemic kind of stuff.
We're still in it.
Yeah.
So the farmers market is every Saturday, so we'll kind of piggyback on that. The first Saturday of June, we'll kick things off. And for the month of May, we're doing something called Plates with a Purpose. It's a local effort to fundraise for good causes, and we're the first recipient. So it'll be a whole series of one-of-a-kind, like cake plates, cake stands, kind of along the theme of birthday cake, and we'll have a silent auction online for those, and then people can pick those up on the birthday day, and we're cooking up some other fun ideas too.
Let's just talk a little bit about the farmers market. Is it back as full as it was pre-pandemic, or have you gained everybody back that you think was there once upon a time, or is that kind of a little slower?
It always kind of ebbs and flows because these are tiny little businesses, and personal issues as well as pandemic kind of cause people to come and go. We're about the same size, maybe a little bit smaller, but because we have this huge parking lot, we have just spread everybody out, so everybody that has wanted to be there has been able to be there vendor-wise. They've continued on.
Yeah, and you're in that, is it the bank lot right behind you right there? Is that where you have it?
It's the city-owned lot for the
city
courts.
lot. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And take up a good bit of space back there. And again, depends on who shows, I guess, on a given, what is it, Saturday mornings?
Saturday mornings, 8:30 to noon, and we are very spread out, so we take up the whole darn thing.
Let's give some information about where we are. What's your address down there, your business hours?
At Keller Market House, it's 134 South Columbus. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, weekdays 10 to 5, except on Wednesday we're open till 6. And then Saturdays, once we get in farmers market season, we open at the same time, 8:30 till 4. And then farmers markets each Saturday, right around the corner, from 8:30 to noon, first Saturday in May through the first Saturday of October.
Before we went on, I was talking to Erin about I said I knew who the Kellers were, and I'll give a plug here for, and we were talking about them here. The Kellers, part of the family, and I'm sure there were many, but the ones I sort of knew were Dave Miller, who owns Good Housekeeping, and his sister Sally. Their mother was a Keller, so I remember Dave, they were all excited about that, and you've actually said they've been there during maybe some heritage events or something you've had, they were there.
Yeah, he has some really fun kind of memorabilia, like
right?
I believe whiskey jugs that have the Keller Quality Shop logo, which our logo is kind of inspired from. When we have like a logo mug and T-shirts, and the family loves that.
Nice, so I bet. And Dave and Sally, they're good local people. Again, they, of course, that their parents had evolved into from that. The Keller Market went into Good Housekeeping, and that's what they still have out on East Main. But it used to be kind of right down here, about a block from us where we are right now. But just wanted to give Dave and Sally a plug there. They're good folks. It says you have on a given day, maybe 75 businesses are involved in what you do down there. You have products from 75 different folks on a good day.
If you take the 2 markets together, we're probably interacting with probably 100 Ohio businesses, I would say, at this point, whose products are represented. So we've been able to grow and add new things over the last year. It's been good.
And again, the pandemic has kind of put the brakes on lots of events, but do you still do workshops and things like that down there? Are those still going on even in the midst of this?
They haven't been. We're looking at starting up again. The Sherman Rotary meets in our spot, and they're kind of talking about when they might start again. So we're kind of making some new improvements to that community room, so we're ready when it feels right. We'd like to expand into doing some more kind of like artisan craft workshops, as well as our sweet spot's kind of food and cooking and soap and flower arranging and that sort of thing.
Talking with Erin Harvey, Erin, 5th anniversary for Keller Market, just couple blocks from here, actually, location that's pretty well known, and again, so well, I think, accepted in the community. People love going down there. If I know I can remember buying honey down there because you had local honey. So, I mean, they just have so many great local products. So it's fun to go down there and do that. You still have your annual memberships going on. Is that something you still do?
We do, yeah. Like most nonprofits, we have a membership program, and it starts at the beginning of the calendar year. You can sign up anytime. It kind of gets prorated as we go through the year. And this year we have a new offering for our members. We have friends only kind of specials. So when you come shop, each month there'll be new sales or discounts from our vendors.
Do you actually go out and look for vendors to come into your place, or is it how it works? They normally just come to you and say, we'd like to get involved down here, or with all that's going on in the last year, has that been slowed down a bit?
Some of both. You know, the more well-known we get, the more people come to us, which is really nice.
Yeah. That's what you'd want. That's what you'd want.
Yeah. Not as much recruiting as we used to do, but, also when we realize, we're missing this, or somebody, moves on and we need to replace something, or get requests for things that we could carry, we still go looking and invite people.
And you talked about, you call local, anything doesn't have to be here within the confines of Fairfield County, but could be in Ohio. So you have items from virtually anywhere in the state?
We do. There's a lot that are, Fairfield County, Perry County, Athens County, Franklin, and then also kind of up in Amish country.
I was going to say, I bet Amish country would be, that'd be perfect for.
Yeah, we work with one really great distributor that gets us a lot of products.
They handle a bunch of things.
Because that's, the distance for a lot of our small businesses. They
very
live in
prohibitive.
Town, that works well. But once you start adding in a drive, it doesn't make as much sense.
Do you have many truly local places involved in your business?
We do, yeah. Like the honey you mentioned, at least, two of our honey providers have a presence right here in Fairfield County. Several of our produce people, and then most of our bakers are Lancaster, Fairfield County, like the really fresh stuff.
And we were talking too, I'm sure something I know nothing about, let's just be clear about that, is social media. Emailing is probably, and texting is probably the only strength I have in all that area right there. But I'm sure you have a presence on Facebook and all platforms of social media.
I'm sure there's a few we're missing, but yeah, Facebook's a great place to find us, Instagram, and we do a weekly email newsletter for people that want to get updates.
Now, is there anything goes on upstairs and that? Again, I know that once upon a time there were big plans. I can just remember 5 years ago, kind of the sky was the limit, because anything was out there and anything would work at that point. So do you have anything up there, or do you have any plans for that?
Not imminently. That would take a big chunk of change.
Yes.
It's pretty rough up there.
Still needs to be redone.
Yeah, it was, you can go up and it was just storage for Lancaster hardware, so you can still see like metal racks and stuff. That's about it.
Again, I can remember it so well as Lancaster Hardware. Again, I used to buy Cub Scout things down there. And when it was Lancaster Hardware, you go in, you buy a lot of hardware items over there. It's just a neat location. I'm so glad that you guys were able to, 5 years ago, somebody made the call on that, pulled the trigger and did it. You have a wonderful place down there. So again, your hours down there?
Tuesday through Saturday. You can always check the website for current hours, but generally 10 to 5 on weekdays and 8:30 to 4 Saturdays.
Yeah, and then the farmers market hours are, is it
8:30
Saturday?
Yep, every Saturday morning, rain or shine.
Rain or shine. Good to know. So again, Keller Market down there, it's a great location. Good place. Stop in, just look around. It's like going in a world area that you see things maybe from the past you haven't seen, or bits and pieces from around the state with really cool items in there. Just a fun place to go in. Erin, thanks for being with us today. Erin Harvey, who is the manager of Keller Market, and she's joined us today. We appreciate her being with us. Thank you for joining us on Fairfield Today.
Interface Video, in cooperation with Fairfield Federal, presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fair Hope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Frankie Smith Funeral Home, Fairfield County Adam H., Dagger Law, and the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities.